Everybody. My name is Jackie Prashar, author of Tessa's Books of Elegance, and welcome to Word on the Street. Today we're interviewing Sonia Bestulic, a speech pathologist, best-selling author, podcaster and speaker, often referred to as a creative, innovative and socially conscious entrepreneur. For over 2 decades, she has helped thousands of individuals gifting communication as a means to a successful participation in daily life and the greater community. Sonia founded Talking Heads Speech Pathology clinics in Sydney, Australia in 2006, with an intention to provide holistic and genuine care to people of all ages. Sonia also uses the power of story and violin playing to touch the hearts of people of all ages. Her award-nominated children's books, Reece, Give Me Some Peace, Kisses in Your Heart, share the messages to find joy by learning through play and to draw on the strength of love within to inspire bravery and courage. And now you have released, Sonia, your new book, Flourish for Mums. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Jackie. It's an absolute pleasure.
Well, that's quite a bio. That's amazing. You've done so much. That's just wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think it always comes down to the why, doesn't it? As a fellow author, it's, we're always fueled by something, I think, stronger than us, isn't it? It's that kind of situation.
Absolutely, yes. So have you always wanted to write books? Was that always something that you wanted to do?
Yeah, look, from childhood, I was always writing, and I used writing as a form of expression, journaling, sharing my observations of, what I was seeing in the world and in my own life. And just writing anything, my goals, what I saw for the future, and just creative, writing. And that was my real space of freedom. So writing has always been what I feel just a part of who I've been since as long as I can remember. Yeah.
That's excellent. And so I don't want to assume, but with the first 2 books, your why for why you wanted to write them is possibly quite different to your third book, which is Flourish for Mums.
Yes. So the first 2, which are children's picture books, Reece, Give Me Some Peace and both Kisses in Your Heart, they were written when my children were aged 1, 2 and 3. So they were very much inspired by what was going on in my life at the time. Reece, Give Me Some Peace, it sounds like it almost gives it away. It was a busy household, it was a noisy household, but I've been a speech pathologist now for over 20 years. So I'm very aware of, children's development, the importance of learning through play and joyful exploration. And so Reece, Give Me Some Peace is very much highlights that, joy of learning through play. And, amongst many other things that it also explores, it's very musical based. And Kisses in Your Heart is very much about building emotional resilience and sharing, a deep love that I felt for my 3 children that I just had never experienced anything like it. And I thought, how do I express in words and get them to understand how much I love them and how much I want them to be able to draw on my love from within their heart and know that they can draw on that for bravery and courage. And then Flourish for Mums, 21 Ways to Thrive with Self-Care and Acceptance, which just came out very recently. That has been a real culmination of my professional years working with thousands of mums as a speech pathologist, as well as my own personal motherhood experience. As I said, having 3 children really close in age, like in 2.5 years. So before having children, I noticed with the mums that I was working with that there was a real outward focus. So it was all about the kids and help me, fix my kid or help my kid and that kind of focus. But I'd be kind of going, but I've got to support you too. And how are you going? And you've got to be in the right space and place to be able to best support your child. And then when I became a mum, I realized how challenging it was to include yourself. That outward focus was so real. And I was like, oh my gosh, how do you do this? How can you be and feel okay with including yourself in your own circle of nurture? And so Flourish for Mums is a very special book. It's been defined as a real life-changing book, and I know that it has caused many shifts for many mums already in the early days. And that's simply because it really highlights and gives permission to, and also practical tools in ways that mums can include themselves and be okay with that, detox the unwarranted guilt that often comes with motherhood,
Yes.
and look at ways to create space and really honour themselves as mums, knowing that that flows on to the people that we share our world with. So it's been a really moving experience, the whole kind of journey of authorship, if I can call it that.
Yes. Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. So this sounds like the latest book has been based on the research that you've done over the years and the experiences that you've had and your own experience as well. So how long did it actually, though, take you to write it?
Writing it didn't take too long. It probably took a matter of months. I'd say about 4 months. And that's simply because it was all within me. And the principles, or the 21 ways, I really wanted them to be universal in the sense that no matter what the motherhood context was, that mums were able to access these tools and this information, and this inspiration, knowing that you don't need to have lots of money, and that, you know, it's not specific to any context. So it was all really within me and inspired by my professional work, as you mentioned, my personal experiences, and also, you know, I share stories that really illustrate the messages that I do share. And those stories, a lot of them come from kids, because I believe children are our greatest teachers. And they really have shared amazing pearls of wisdom with me along the way, my kids and the kids I have worked with. And I really wanted to celebrate that in Flourish for Mums as well.
That's wonderful. You know, I've seen other books where the author writes about a topic but has never really experienced that topic, and it's just from a purely like professional research point of view, not from a real, you know, personal lived point of view, which I think makes all the difference. I really do.
Yeah, and I feel like the feedback so far is very much that people have quickly identified the honesty and the relatability and the common human experience. And I'm very big on human connection and humanness. And, you know, and sharing that human experience is where a lot of mums and even non-mums have really been quite moved by what they've read, or, as I said before, like personal shifts that have happened for them. Because I feel like that's, you know, that's part of why we're here, you know, is to support each other, build each other up, learn as much as we can, and be accepting of that, and really embrace that we're always growing and we're always learning, and we're not meant to have it all right all the time, and, you know, those kinds of things. So I feel overall it is very liberating, and does give steps. So it's all good and well to kind of, you know, say inspiring things or write inspiring things, which I'm very big on. But often we can be left with, but how do I do that? It's kind of like, that sounds great, but how do I achieve that? How do I get there? And so I'm really big on adding value and being practical about things. Because if you kind of go, oh, I want to experience, you know, a deeper and, you know, more fulfilling way of life every day, that's great, but what does that mean to you? And so that's where Flourish for Mums, I ask a lot of questions, and I have those tools that you can actually pause and do those, you know, aspects of self-inquiry that allow you to dig through your own layers and work out what you want as an individual, and, you know, cut out all the noise from everyone else and everything else. So, you know, that is so important. That deeply is going to, you know, bring us the fulfillment, isn't it? Is honoring ourselves in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would be an awesome gift for an expecting mother as well, to have, you know, to read it before, you know, giving birth, and just to have that information, I think would save a lot of a lot of head miles and a lot of guilt and a lot of other things too. So it would be great for expecting mums to have as a gift, I believe.
Yeah, 100%. And I know a lot have been bought for expecting mums, and not just first-time mums that are expecting another child, simply because as I said earlier, we don't just tick all the boxes and get it right. You know, our context of life changes, whether we're adding another child or, you know, we're at a life stage where whatever it is that's going on, we need to be able to know how to take care of ourselves and what tools we need to be able to reconnect with ourselves and make sure that we're in alignment with, you know, our true values and our, I guess, our heart desires.
So I know you've received some excellent feedback already. Is there any specific feedback that is in the forefront of your mind that you're really, you know, blown away about? Or
I think, look, there's been a few. I know I've talked about shifts. There's been a few really specific personal stories shared with me, which is always quite humbling when you don't know somebody and you have been able to positively impact and empower their lives. That's always very, very humbling. So, you know, there have been tears, good tears.
yeah.
You know, one particular mum had written that she was reading Flourish for Mums next to her husband, and that she started crying, and, you know, and he said, "Oh, is everything okay?" And she said, "Yes, I've just felt almost like a big sigh of relief and just given myself permission to be okay with something I was holding on to." And she had a lot of guilt because she had been unwell after she'd had her baby, and her baby was born early and was unwell, so she couldn't be there a lot of in those early weeks and months. So there was a lot of guilt she was holding on to, and a lot of I guess labels she had placed upon herself as a mum for not being present. And she realized at that moment, she said, reading that particular section in that particular chapter, she realized that, and she was able to let go and to give permission, she said, to forgive herself. And as we know, when you forgive and you truly forgive, it creates space for, you know, many other beautiful, wonderful things. So, you know, there's been a few stories like that of tears and of shifts and of permission granted. And, you know, other mums saying, "It felt like you were talking to me, like just to me and no one else in the world." And I'm like, that's the honest and, you know, the honesty and the relatability of it. And I think the other lovely one is that someone had said, "This feels like talking to a trusted best friend."
Yeah, that's special.
And that was the perfect kind of summary, I guess, of what I was looking to accomplish, I guess, with Flourish for Mums, was that connection of companionship and feeling that you're not alone. And knowing that, you know, you could open this book up at any page and get the inspiration you want, or sit with a chapter for a few weeks or a few months if you feel that that's an area that you really want to grow in. So it's always very humbling, and one of those feelings that I always feel very lost for words. I just fall into a deep gratitude of silence.
Right. And so how do you personally handle criticism?
I think for me, I tend to use, I know this sounds picky, but I tend to use the word feedback. So if anyone has any feedback, in terms of Flourish for Mums, I haven't had any specific feedback that's, you know, kind of been negative per se. Generally with feedback, I really welcome it, no matter what it is. And I think I value it and I appreciate it, because I can't forecast how an individual is going to interpret anything that I write. And so, you know, an example would be, and I can think of one, it was with Reece, Give Me Some Peace, which explores, you know, beautiful different musical instruments, and Reece exploring them all. And in speaking to someone in the, you know, musical world, they had shared with me, they said, "You know what, the one thing that I find tricky with this is that the mum wants him, you know, to give her some peace, but he's playing musical instruments, which is amazing and fantastic." And I was like, "Yes, it is." And he said, "But I don't like that she wants him to stop." And so I was like, wow. And honestly, when he said that, I was just like thank you so much. In the and the book had been out quite a while and was doing quite well, and it doesn't mean it won't continue to do well. But I just honestly just said thank you so much, because that has never crossed my mind. It was not even an intention of the book. But I can understand how someone who, music is their life, in this book could see it from that angle. And so it was a really refreshing conversation to have. And from there, potentially some opportunities, came up or were discussed as well, which was a really interesting, really interesting way to kind of move on to what can we do with this in a creative way, not to fix the story. The story is perfect, but what are some opportunities and what can Reece do in the future? And, all those kinds of creative aspects. So I guess generally with feedback or anything that's not what you expect, I really embrace it. And then always I come back to, let me check in on my intentions. Let me check in on, being really objective. It's not about me personally. So I always separate, and I can do that very easily and be quite objective, because that's how we learn. That's how we learn and grow. So I think that's really important for any creative, to be able to do that process of separating, objective kind of review and reflection, and then take any steps if you feel you need to. That's just a really basic general process, I think, for anyone.
Yeah, I know. It's good that you don't just dismiss it, because I know some people who just dismiss it, won't listen to it, don't want to reflect on it, don't want to process it, just don't want to hear it. And I think they're missing out on a learning opportunity and much more, as you just shared. So that's really good advice, I think. So I know you've got a lot of going on. Is there anything else on the horizon that's coming up that you can share, that you're working on? Any current projects?
I'm always working on stuff, Jackie. I'm always working on stuff. Next week, there's an anthology coming out with the Children's Book Council of Australia, which I have a poem being published within that, with over 70 other authors and illustrators. So that's very exciting.
Yes, wonderful.
And besides that, I think, I've got a few ideas in the pipelines, both for children and for adults. Nothing too specific for me to share yet, but always got something on the boil.
Isn't it? That's excellent. I think as creative people, you can't not. Well, we just sort of just keep going and creating and exploring, and that's the fun of it anyway for me.
Absolutely.
Seeing what's over the horizon. Wonderful. So where can people find your books and what you do, and anything else about you?
Absolutely. Well, my website is a great starting point, soniabestulic.com.au, and that really has the overall gamut of all the work that I do, and the books, etc. In terms of Flourish for Mums, the most recent book, that is available widely, at Big W, at Target, at independent bookstores, and online at Booktopia, and Amazon. Anyone in Australia that wants signed copies, you can get those through soniabestulic.com.au.
Fantastic. That's wonderful. So thank you so much for joining us today. It's been awesome to speak with you. And I'm sure whoever listens to this will be getting so much out of it, and hopefully pass on the information.
Thank you so much, Jackie. It's an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Sonia. Thank you.
See you.